Can you hear me? My warmest hello to each and every one of you. Father George, Dean Patro, Dean De Silva, Father Matthew, and dear friends, my heartfelt thanks for this tremendous honor, this invitation to deliver the JRD Tata Oration. And it's a particular privilege for me to be here at XLRI, India's oldest business school, which has been shaping leaders of tomorrow for 76 years. I salute that remarkable legacy. Are business and ethics contradictory or complementary? Let me ask you for a quick show of hands. How many of you feel that ethics is an impediment to business success, an obstacle, a constraint? A show of hands. How many of you feel it's a constraint, it's an impediment? How many of you feel ethics is irrelevant for business success? How many of you feel ethics is important for business success? Wow. So let's look deeper. Ethics is our compass for right and wrong. And business ethics is how companies apply that compass to how they treat people, partners, and the planet. The traditional view is that ethics has no place in business that must compete in a cutthroat marketplace. The record shows otherwise. Over 5 years, companies ranked as the world's most ethical outperformed their peers by 25% on profits, productivity, and trust. Harvard and Oxford studies echo it. Values-driven firm deliver higher returns with lower risk. Ethics isn't just right, it pays. Now let's look beneath the statistics into the stories. Do you like stories? Into the stories that reveal how ethics delivers value. And fittingly, our first story begins right here with JRD Tata. Few leaders have so completely embodied that spirit of ethical enterprise. At a time when ethics was absent from the lexicon of business success, JRD stood apart as a trailblazer of integrity. He made the Tata Group India's industrial giant without ever compromising on its values. He refused to seek favor from those in power and insisted that the Tata companies win business on merit. He lived by his words that no success in material terms is worthwhile unless it serves the needs and interests of the country and its people. The result? The Tata name became one of India's most trusted brands, a symbol of integrity and enduring respect. That is ethics as advantage. Our second story takes us to the US in 1982. 7 people died after taking cyanide-laced Tylenol. The company, Johnson & Johnson, wasn't at fault, but it chose responsibility over revenue. It recalled 31 million bottles worth $100 million, stopped production, and pioneered tamper-proof packaging. A costly decision, but within a year, Tylenol's market share rebounded from 7 to 37%. That single act of integrity transformed crisis into trust and rewrote the global playbook for corporate responsibility forever. Ethics protected lives and restored value. Our third story is of Patagonia, the outdoor apparel company. On Black Friday 2011, Patagonia published a full-page ad in the New York Times that read, "Don't buy this jacket," explaining the environmental cost of each of its products. Ironically, sales rose 30% because authenticity sells. These stories show that when ethics lead, trust and value follow. Ethics isn't a cost, it's capital, invisible capital that compounds trust and loyalty and delivers dividends for business and society alike. In short, values deliver value. In recent years, markets themselves have been rewarding companies for ethical practices and punishing their absence. Consumers are voting with their wallets, rewarding companies for social and environmental responsibility, from Patagonia's leadership in sustainability to Starbucks' ethically sourced coffee. While brands like Nestle have faced boycotts over unethical marketing, investors too are valuing companies with strong environmental and social and governance standards, or ESG, committing over $6 trillion in the US alone. And suppliers are being held to high ethical standards, from Unilever's responsible sourcing to the Body Shop's cruelty-free cosmetics. All of these demonstrate that when ethics lead, trust and value follow. But what happens when that moral compass is lost? In 2015, Volkswagen installed deceit devices in 11 million supposedly clean diesel cars that were actually spewing more than 40 times the legal limit. When the truth emerged, $30 billion and decades of trust vanished. If Volkswagen was one company's loss of conscience, then the 2008 global financial crisis was the collective failure of conscience at a global scale, the greatest ethical collapse in history. Major Wall Street banks knowingly issued risky mortgage loans to families that couldn't repay, then bundled them into safe-looking securities and sold them at huge profits. When the bubble burst, markets crashed, companies collapsed, millions of jobs vanished, and even countries defaulted. A moral meltdown masquerading as a financial innovation. Unethical business harms both business and society. So, back to the opening question. Are ethics important for business success? They are not only important, they are the bedrock of sustainable value. But if ethics so clearly pays, why isn't it yet a norm? The answer lies in how business ethics lost its way in over two distinctive waves of its evolution. The first wave, corporate social responsibility, or CSR, began in the 1970s and urged companies to make a social impact beyond profit alone. But too often, CSR lived in side offices and ad hoc donations for public relations. Ethics was bolted on rather than built into business strategy. The second wave, environmental, social, and governance, or ESG, mobilized capital at scale, embedding sustainability in corporate scorecards. But too often, ESG became a race for ratings without reform, metrics without meaning, compliance without conviction. Where CSR sat in the sidelines and ESG sank in scorecards, the World Forum for Ethics in Business, or WFEB, rose as a much needed third wave. Values driven, not compliance driven, conscience based, not checklist based. Rising from that moral meltdown of the 2008 global financial crisis, WFEB emerged to champion a powerful conviction that business and ethics are complementary, not contradictory, that business can be profitable and ethical. WFEB challenged the traditional view voiced by Nobel laureate Milton Friedman, who famously said the business of business is business and the company's only responsibility is to increase shareholder profit and not serve society's broader interests. Instead, WFEB advances a new paradigm that aligns shareholder with stakeholder value, serving both profit and purpose. To advance this, WFEB serves as a global convener of conscience and a trusted partner, helping companies move from reporting ethics to living ethics through its distinctive approach of embedding values in leadership and culture. Founded in Belgium with consultative status at the United Nations, WFEB has over 2 decades convened over 100,000 leaders from 80 nations across the European Parliament, national forums, and in global ethics and sports summits. Now, as we approach our 20th anniversary, WFEB is igniting its next phase with a bold vision to scale up ethical and socially responsible businesses, to make ethics the norm, not the exception. Now, why is this vital? Because business drives 70% of the global economy and 90% of the jobs. If even a fraction of this immense power could unite profit with purpose, we could transform our future, regenerating the planet rather than depleting it, strengthening integrity rather than fueling corruption, and ensuring that AI serves humanity rather than subverting it. And that is why WFEB's next phase focuses on these 3 defining frontiers of our time: ethics of AI, regenerative climate action, and fighting corruption. Our first frontier, ethics of AI. AI is fast becoming humanity's most powerful tool and its greatest ethical test. You see, the question isn't whether AI will shape our world. It will. The question is whether we will shape AI with ethics, humanity, and wisdom, which takes us to a deeper question, not what AI can do, but what AI should do. To that end, WFEB applies our values-driven approach, helping companies cultivate a conscience-driven commitment for ethical use of AI, which also delivers lasting business value. The founder of WFEB, Gurudev Sri Sri Ravi Shankar, has said, artificial intelligence can only reproduce what is stored. Absolute intelligence is the intelligence that governs the whole universe, and it is this higher universal intelligence that manifests as joy, as compassion, as connectedness, as creativity, connectedness with all life. And it is this absolute intelligence that must guide artificial intelligence so that technology reflects our deepest human values rather than merely the logic of algorithms. Guided by these human values, WFEB's AI Charter sets out clear commitments for companies to tackle major ethical challenges with AI today. Consider 4 of them. First, disinformation. We live in a world turbocharged by fake news. The EU warns that by 2030, 70% of online content that you will see will be AI-generated disinformation. Just think of it, 70%. To counter this, WFEB's AI Charter calls on companies to watermark AI-generated content and disclose the source. The C2PA coalition has set watermarking standards now adopted by major news outlets. Second, bias and discrimination. In the Netherlands, an algorithm wrongly flagged, get this, 26,000 families for welfare fraud, devastating lives and even forcing the government to resign. To prevent such harm, our charter calls on companies to conduct independent bias audits. Third, data privacy and surveillance. The Cambridge Analytica scandal harvested data from 87 million Facebook users to manipulate elections. To protect our privacy, our charter calls on companies to adopt privacy by design and privacy by default. Take Apple. By treating privacy as a human right, it has built lasting consumer trust and set its brand apart on values, not just technology. And fourth, jobs. AI could disrupt 300 million jobs worldwide. Our charter calls on companies to disclose workforce impacts and invest in retraining. AT&T invested $1 billion in reskilling 100,000 employees in AI-era roles, protecting jobs and loyalty alike. So, WFEB is inviting more and more companies around the world to pilot and ultimately adopt the AI Ethics Charter. We can then help companies implement these commitments by ensuring that ethics infuses AI code, but does not live in code alone. It must live in people. And so, on the technical side, WFEB's partners can help companies integrate charter commitments in AI systems. And on the human side, our Transformative Leadership for Excellence, or TLEX program, uses innovative breathwork and meditation practices to help leaders and teams awaken their inner wellspring of joy, compassion, and connectedness that embody absolute intelligence, guiding them to implement the AI Charter with conscience and courage. But inner conviction must be matched by outer credibility. So WFEB will facilitate the independent certification of companies' commitments, enabling consumers to reward ethical AI systems. Because it's so interesting. If consumers today are willing to pay more, two-thirds of consumers are willing to pay more for ethical products, just as consumers reward IKEA for FSC certified furniture and Starbucks for ethically sourced coffee. Surely they will value even more the ethical certification of companies that use our data, because our data, after all, is a lot more precious to us than wood or coffee beans. Our second frontier is regenerative climate action. Business drives 70% of global emissions, so without it, our world cannot heal. Net zero is necessary but not sufficient. WFEB champions regenerative business that restores the ecosystem and renews livelihoods. We spotlight pioneers like Patagonia's founder, Yvonne Chouinard, who transferred 100% ownership to a trust to fight climate change, declaring, Earth is now our only shareholder. Or IKEA investing billions of dollars to make its supply chain circular, where materials are reused, not wasted. Our goal is to turn these exceptions into the norm. So like with AI, we invite more and more companies to pilot regenerative business charter, aligning with the SBTI aligned actions, with technical partners supporting implementation and certification, and TLEX catalyzing values-driven culture, so that climate ethics too yields market dividends. Our third frontier is fighting corruption. Corruption drains $3.6 trillion annually. WFEB will continue to spotlight pioneers like Infosys, which grew into a global powerhouse without greasing palms. We invite more and more companies to commit to no bribery integrity pacts, championed by Siemens after its corruption scandals and shown to boost competition and reduce costs with monitoring by watchdogs like Transparency International. That is how integrity builds trust and yields market dividends. Now, weaving these three frontiers together, we envision a world where these ethical pioneers become the new normal. We envision more Adobe's watermarking truth, more Apple's defending privacy, more Patagonia's regenerating the planet, more Infosys and Tata's showing that leading business can be exemplars of business, of success and ethics alike. But how do we make this vision a reality? How do we embed ethics across companies? Let me illustrate using a simple metaphor. Do you like cake? How many of you like cake? I love the three-layered white chocolate mousse cake. Each layer is delicious on its own, but the magic happens when the mousse travels through each of the layers, isn't it? Let's use that and apply that to show you how WFEB helps business firms embed ethics in the center of business. The top layer of the cake is the tangible value that ethical firms create for business and society. And to turn ethics into market dividends, WFEB partners with technical allies that take the charter commitments, integrate it, and certify responsible use, building consumer trust. Ethics here is not philanthropy, it's performance. The second layer of the cake goes deeper to leadership and culture that sustains an ethical enterprise. Humane values and leadership create a workplace where creativity blossoms, where teams serve, where consumers feel cared for. Companies with such ethical cultures, including the 100 best companies to work for, outperform their peers by over 200%, proving that humane leadership doesn't cost profits, it drives them. And WFEB helps companies embed humane and service-driven leadership and culture through the TLEX program. Now we come to my most exciting part, which is the third layer of the cake, which takes us to the source within, to the mind of the leader and the teams. Through innovative breathwork and meditation practices embedded in the TLEX program, WFEB helps leaders and teams nurture a calm, stress-free mind, the wellspring of dynamism, caring, compassion, and service, which then powers ethical action and purpose-driven profit. You see, you will notice when you are calm and at peace within, your natural instinct will be to ask, what can I do for you? But when you are stressed and agitated, that instinct flips to what's in it for me? That inner shift from self-centeredness to service is where ethics truly begins. And it goes deeper to deliver a double dividend. External value to business and society, and inner value to the leader. That quiet joy, peace, and contentment in doing the right thing. When such inner source nourishes a company's culture and outcomes, when the three layers of the cake align, then the mousse of values runs through the entire cake, infusing the entire organization with a spirit of trust and service. That is the unmistakable flavor of ethics, which consumers, employees, and communities then savor. But ethics cannot thrive in one company alone. To change norms, we need coalitions. In Ukraine, in 2014, when corruption was rampant and powerful oligarchs stole precious resources in secrecy, a coalition of young reformers opened all procurement contracts to the public. In 4 years, it saved $6 billion, and 80% of businesses reported reduced corruption. 70 governments have followed suit, making open contracting a new global norm. Similarly, ethical businesses can join forces through the WFEB platform and partner with reform-minded governments such as the EU with its Digital Services Act to make watermarking, bias audits, privacy by default a new global norm. Such coalitions can turn isolated efforts into a shared movement for global ethics reforms, norms. So I began with the question, are ethics important for business success? The evidence and the stories all answer with one resounding voice. Yes, ethics is not an ornament. It is the operating system for sustainable business success. WFEB's mission is simple and audacious: to make ethics the norm, not the exception. So how can you engage to advance this mission? First, how can you engage? First, join the WFEB community, you and your company, at wfeb.org/join. Second, pilot an ethics charter in AI, climate, or anti-corruption. And third, strengthen the ethical culture within your company using WFEB's three-layered approach. Together, let us make ethics not the exception we admire, but the standard we expect. Now, you may wonder, is this possible at scale? So in closing, let me share with you an example that makes the impossible possible. This is a phenomenon of starlings. Starlings are these small birds that are vulnerable to prey from the falcon, the predator, which is much bigger and can swoop down and swallow them up. But as dusk falls, hundreds and thousands of starlings make a formation in the sky known as murmurations. And these murmurations have a function: to drive the falcon away. And lo and behold, you see the awesome power of the collective. Citizens and businesses are like starlings. Alone, they feel helpless and hopeless in the face of the grand falcons of disinformation and corruption. But when they rise together, ethics soars and trust triumphs. From reformers in Ukraine joining forces to combat corruption to the C2PA coalition fighting disinformation, we have seen how collective courage can drive away even the fiercest falcons. Just as JRD Tata showed that ethics and excellence can soar as one, so can we together rise in a murmuration of ethics. So here's my call to you: forge your murmuration. If you lead a company, join forces with others to weave ethics into the fabric of your industry so your products carry the signature of your conscience. If you're a student, unite with peers and lift your generation to make integrity contagious until success and ethics soar as one. Because when the falcon peels away, it won't be because one hero stood alone. It'll be because thousands of starlings chose to rise together. So, join us. Let's rise in a magnificent murmuration of conscience to make ethics the norm, to make values deliver value for business, for society, for our shared humanity. Thank you.